we'll go ahead and get started. Obviously, I said it at the beginning, this is part of my favorite part of the awards, is just because it really recognizes a lot of great work that is going on within our community. So to sort of set that stage, if I can, is I do want to recognize first and thank Tom Gamir, who is our 2022 board chair. Tom is Corporate Senior Vice President and Regional Chief Executive for Scripps Health in the southern part of the region. So Tom, if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to come on up.
Thank you, Demetrios. And yes, the weather. I'm surprised any of you are back in this room. It's freezing in here, and it's so nice out there. Lisa, the weather held up. She was really worried about the wind, that it was going to blow us away. That certainly wasn't the case. It was gorgeous out there, and the lunch was fabulous. You know, you get this call occasionally where you're asked to serve. And I've had that happen to me a few times along the way, and it's been my pleasure to serve as the chair this past year. I want to set the record straight. There was this campaign for one more year for Tom by Patrick Frias, but Children's, who's going to be the new chair, is false information. Don't believe a word of it. Patrick will be our new chair. He'll be fabulous. He's a great leader. And he'll do a wonderful job. I want to take a moment and thank you. Many of you in the room also get that call from either the CHA or our local HASD&IC board and are asked to serve and represent, bring your expertise, meet with our elected officials, do many things that really represent our hospitals in the community. And I want to thank you for saying yes. In doing that. We do need your engagement more than ever. As you could see, Carmela came up here and, you know, gosh, you should have seen the board meeting. After the board meeting last night, we all went over and had a glass of wine and a little something after hearing some of the things that we face. But together, really, I think what you heard this morning from many of our speakers is when we come together and we collaborate and we have a common purpose, whether that be the patient or our community or the mission, then we can make a difference, and it takes engagement in all of your involvement. You know, I had a chief of staff who recently it was her end of her term, and she talked about the worst of times and the best of times over the last few years that we had dealt with. And, you know, the one moment in time, I mean, I saw some things I really want to forget that happened over the last several years, but the one thing that stuck in my mind that I'll never forget is I remember standing outside of the emergency room the whole staff was lined up, and on the other side of the street we had all the fire department, the fire chiefs and we stood there and we applauded each other. And that visual thing is in my mind that I'll never forget of how when we come together and serve our community and make a difference, how important that is. And I'll never forget that. That's what it's all about. And we can have different political views and different positions, and certainly we want to represent our organizations and our interests, but it's only when we come together we can really make a change and make it, I think as David was saying, just a better place to live and make a difference for that. So I told Patrick I'll be around. I'm a past chair, and I'll support him this next year. I think you can see how blessed we are with Demetrios and a mighty team. They're few, but they're mighty, and they do a great job representing all of us. And they are our organization. And so all that you give and put into this is really giving back. So I thank you for that, and thank you, Demetrios. I'll turn it back.
Thank you for that, Tom. Checks in the mail.
I said his evaluation.
So, you know, obviously it goes without saying, but you're only as good as your leadership, and Tom has done a fantastic job this last year representing all of you quite well. So with that, we do want to get on to the rest of our awards. And first up, when we as a team start to think about, who are the folks who have done some great things in the community? I would say, not that we struggle because there's so much good going on, but I think when we all came together, it just made sense for this year that one of those folks who definitely has earned and deserves that recognition is Dr. Wilma Wooten. Wilma is our public health officer for the County of San Diego. There's a whole list of things that Wilma's accomplished, but what I would just summarize it this way is the past 3 years, our region is better off for having Wilma Wooten here. We saw the ups and downs, 1,900 hospitalizations at one point due to COVID. Then we saw it drop, and then we saw it surge again. And throughout all of that, Dr. Wooten was a constant. Not only looking out for all of us as providers, but looking out for the best interests of our region, of our community, of those individuals, of the patients. And, it goes without saying she has a tough job because like anything else, she's not into politics, but the job becomes political anytime you're making decisions. And I honestly can say her interests were always aligned with making sure that our community was healthy and safe. And with that, Wilma, if you'd come up, please, we'd like to recognize you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And briefly, I'd just like to thank HASD&IC for this award. It is always important for me to recognize and acknowledge the fact that a recognition of this kind is not based on my deeds alone, but on the deeds of the team that we have at the county and the deeds of our community partners. I feel San Diego is second to none in terms of the partnerships and relationships that we have locally between the county and the healthcare system and the various other sectors that were developed during our response to COVID-19. So we are truly blessed here in San Diego to have the relationships that we do have. And I'd also just finally like to acknowledge the other awardees that will be recognized here today too. Thank you so much.
So next up, we want to recognize two individuals. So similar to those conversations, as you know, we'll just throw the elephant out in the room, worst acronym ever for an association, but Imperial County is an important part of our association. So as we talk to the two CEOs out there, both Pioneer and El Centro, we had a discussion about, who's doing some great things and, who deserves some recognition for the work they're doing. And I can tell you that both Larry and Adolph both said Dr. Ahmad and Dr. Sampat are doing a lot of great things. And the fact of the matter is whether you're talking about behavioral health, and we heard earlier about geriatric EDs and geriatric care, I mean, it goes without saying Imperial County is one of those areas that is tough. It's a tough community to serve in because you have two hospitals. You have a lot of high need and high demand. And the fact that you have two dedicated physicians who care enough and are embedded in that community is telling about what type of individuals they are. And the fact that you had two CEOs who without a doubt said, these two definitely deserve the recognition, it was a no-brainer for us. So if I can invite you both up, please, we'd love to recognize you. And if you'd like to say a few words, you're welcome to do so.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I said I'm not going to say anything, but I will just say a few words. That's what he said. So I really thank you, everybody, for doing my job. Actually, I just do my job. But for recognizing somebody, it makes us do better job, more job. It encourages us. So basically, I'm from Imperial County, and I am a psychiatrist, and I thought I'm doing a great job as a psychiatrist, saving lives, helping people. But then came opioid epidemic, so I changed my focus a little bit. So I started doing addiction medicine. So I felt I am more close to saving lives. So I really, do my job with a lot of love and empathy. So, but thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Unnati Sampat. I'm a geriatrician. I practice in El Centro, Imperial County. It's an honor to be here today to receive this award. I'd like to thank Dr. Adolph Edward and Dr. Larry Lewis and also all the board members for this special recognition today. I'm very excited to meet Dr. Wooten today. I've admired her courage and commitment over the last several years. You may all know that Imperial County is a small community and we were hit really hard during the pandemic, but with the help of the Hospital Association and the effort of all our local community leaders, Dr. Ahmad and several others, we were able to bring it under control. So I look forward to our teamwork in the future. We can even improve the healthcare further. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, we heard a lot of great discussion as we talked about EMS today. And I can tell you over the past few years, again, going back to the numbers, when you think about what our hospitals were hit with, 1,900 COVID-positive patients hospitalized at one point in time in this region. That doesn't happen without a lot of collaboration and a lot of stretching. I know folks were definitely pushed to the brink. And one of those areas that definitely was helpful in all of this was our Health Service Capacity Task Force. And a lot of you may not know who they are, what they do, but I can tell you, even just talking to Karin, in normal times, they might be meeting on a bi-weekly basis, having some conversations. Things get busier, they're having weekly calls. And when things get downright crazy, it was daily calls. And for you all to understand, the reason this group's important is they're the ones who, when they look at the metrics, flex up or down, and what that does is that provides more flexibility, more capability, requires us to cut back on certain things, and all of that, similar to what we've talked about with the two physicians, with Wilma's work, it all is not self-serving, it's all in betterment of what's happening in our community. So the fact that you had folks dedicated to those daily calls, looking at the challenging issues around pre-hospital care and hospital care, really is kudos, because it's not like it's just a bunch of hospital people. It's fire, it's EMS, it's our hospitals, it's the ambulance providers, all coming around the table and having those important discussions and figuring out what can we do so that at the end of the day, patients are able to get care. Because that's really where we need to keep our focus, is this is all about the patients. And so the fact of the matter is their work saved lives. And so definitely something that we do want to recognize here today. And so we do have a list, so I'll call them up if I can, and we'll take a big group shot, and then again, similar to the others, if you'd like to say a few words, you're more than welcome. So from County EMS, Jeff Collins, Director, San Diego County Fire, Brian Christensen, EMS Program Coordinator, County of San Diego. From the EMS sector, Claudia Rempel, President of the Ambulance Association. From the fire sector, Chief Brainard, San Miguel Fire and Rescue. And from the hospital sector, Marlena Montgomery, who is Chief Nursing Officer and Experienced Champion for Sharp Coronado Hospital. And we have to be careful. We did have a medical emergency earlier. This one bit the dust, so we had to suture it up, so we'll get a new one to Marlena.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Christison. I am a bureaucrat, and I appreciate the chance to converse with the group. The Health Services Capacity Task Force is yet another brainchild of Dr. Wooten. So again, just another round of applause for decades of leadership to our county. What we've heard today is our strength is being together, and this group is an opportunity to bridge the entire continuum of care. It happens to be housed in the EMS building, partially because we've got the data that we've, again, heard about is so important to inform our county's response to increases in patient demand. And really, we can't do it without each of our participants. And from our county side, all we do is count beans. At least we're accused of that. And so each of our sector representatives really brings the input from our field providers, from our clinicians to inform our decisions going forward. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
Good afternoon. I'm Claudia Rempel, as mentioned, the president of the Ambulance Association of San Diego County. I do represent the private sector and very proud to do so. I did want to just thank the task force for being my thought partners during the pandemic. It really does take a team to stand and pivot, and we accomplished a lot, and we really collaborated, and I think that's key, as mentioned earlier. So I just want to thank you, and also the Hospital Association for this award.
Be brief. Hello, my name is Marlena Montgomery, and I just want to say thank you to all of you for supporting this incredible work in order to do this great collaboration in our community, which is fairly unique. Thank you for supporting all of our sector representatives, for without those sector representatives joining our task force, we're just a task, we have no force, so we need them. And thank you for supporting this incredible work that really makes our community better. And, you know, that's what we're all here for the community. So thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Criss, and I represent the 30-plus fire agencies in the county. And Dr. Wooten, thank you very much for putting this together and creating a voice for the fire service and the pre-hospital. And I watched all the professionals on there. There was usually about 50 people in our task force conversations. And so I got a chance to voice what I'm feeling and hearing from my other fire agencies to the entire pre-hospital and hospital EMS system. And I really appreciate that, and so do all of my colleagues. So thank you very much.
So those are our awards for this year, and obviously well-deserving for the whole group. So if we can get a round of applause for all of those awardees. And I know at the beginning we had recognized some of our electeds who were here, but I also would be remiss if I didn't thank Chief Meacham for joining us today. And Nick, I think, is still here. He may have stepped out, but Nick Mascione as well. So thank you both for being here today.